Okay, yeah, I think we're live. So yeah, if I have your consent, I'd love to record because I'm recording my journey from start of the project to the end from like the
Mhm.
perspective of someone learning game development. So even all the business stuff I'm trying to record and get it out there as content. So if you're okay, I'd love to just record. And if not, no problem. I can turn it off.
No, no, it's
Yeah, and
fine.
you're
It's fine.
definitely going to have to mute your mic because that echo comes back.
Is that okay? Good.
Does that mean that Oh, okay. Well, he'll be able to record what I'm saying. It's just that when he wants to communicate and ask questions,
Yeah,
it's going to be a bit of an
Yeah,
issue.
I'll jump on mute right
he'll
now.
just unmute.
Thank
Yeah.
you guys.
Okay. One thing I did notice. Oh man, it's great. So many people are jumping in. This is cool. We haven't got a chat option, have we? Oh no,
Yes,
we
there
do.
is.
It's on the top right.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Now I see it. Oh yeah. Is
So
that
it-
Discord have changed?
no,
Maybe. No.
no, workshop's been like that. So yeah, if anybody has questions, like Omar's not going to stop right in the middle of it to answer a bunch of stuff. But if people have comments or questions, go ahead and bring that up.
That's cool. No, I was just going to say, because it looked a little bit different to the other workshop layout for some bizarre reason. I don't know why. That's
Because this is
because it's
this
the
one
stage
is not.
format.
Yeah, this is a stage format. So, question: Can is anybody in the audience not see his shared screen? And if you can see it, that's amazing, because I was having issues several months ago on the stage about people seeing everything. But as long as you can see his shared screen, we are all good.
Okay, that's good. I think we're all good. This is awesome. Cool. All right. I might give it one more minute because I know some people just come in as like last minute stragglers. But we've got a good number here, so hopefully maybe we get one or two more people coming in. It's really distracting. Keeps going up and down. It's like people drop in, drop out, drop in, drop out. Okay.
But how's my mic sound? I bought a new mic and it got here and I hooked it up yesterday. So
Ooh.
I hope it sounds better than
It
like
sounds
that.
deeper. It sounds deeper.
It
Like it
sounds
sounds more like you're in a
deeper.
studio type environment. Like you've got some kind of soundproofing around you.
Yeah, good. Because the other one was a headset and it sounded like I was in an airplane.
It sounded fine. I don't really have too much of an issue with it. I'll be honest. It was fine. Like I have to use my webcam because sometimes my microphone doesn't work properly for some bizarre reason. Because I have a new laptop and it just plays up. So right now I do have my proper microphone, which I really like when it works. So yeah, it's a game changer when you get a good microphone.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
since we've been traveling. Oh no, go ahead.
No, it was fine. I was just going to say we could start, but I want to hear your little story.
Oh, I was just going to say, since we've been traveling, like, because we sold our house last year, and so my whole studio is broke down. All I have is a laptop and an extra monitor, and so I didn't have like good audio. That's why I bought that headset, but that didn't have good enough audio. So this is actually like a $60 mic, but it came with a boom stand and the condenser mic. It's all that cool stuff. So
Oh, nice.
yeah. So now when we get back to actually stop being a digital nomads, then I'll get my stuff all set up again. But yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I've got a boom mark. I've got a boom thing. I've got an arm. I've got a pop filter as well. It's so good when you get all this. You actually feel like
it's nice.
That's
You feel like in the world. So also before we start, we are going to be accepting requests to review your pitch deck. So I'm going to put in the chat the link to do that. I'm also going to make an announcement in Discord for people to sign up. So we want to review your pitch decks. And if you've been reviewed way in the past and you want your pitch deck reviewed again, go ahead and fill that out.
Good stuff. All right, we can start now. We've got enough people. Right, I'm going to start the first slide. It's funny, I saw in the chat somebody said, "Oh, it's a Westworld game." Yay! It's not a Westworld game. Because the character in this game is called Westin, and he's in his world. So yeah. Unless it was a joke. But yeah, this first kind of slide, I have a quick question for the developer. Is this key art AI generated, or is it from a concept artist?
It's from a concept art. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's from a concept artist with a disclaimer that some AI may have been used to enhance. So I wasn't involved with the direct creation of it, but I suspect that there has been some AI used to it.
Okay, all right. So just be careful if you do have AI generated imagery in your decks. Just be open about it and disclose it. Last thing you want to do is kind of confuse or mislead the reader, making them think that, oh wow, okay, they've got a concept art on their team who is going to be churning out stuff like this. But if that's not the case, you've got to be really direct and transparent. It also means that you then can clearly communicate what the art bar is for the game. Because I look at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is what they're going to go for, right? In terms of environment design, that looks very AAA, but this isn't a AAA game. So yeah, just be careful. But yeah, talking more about the key art, there's a key character called Westin. He's not in the key art. I would love it if you just had like, I don't know, like a hero shot. Maybe he's standing on a rock, looking out into the distance, kind of like Link in Breath of the Wild, or the follow up, to the Kingdom. You want that hero there. You want to know who you are, because with RPGs, oh, can you? Somebody's saying, can you press the slideshow button so it's full screen? Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I'll kind of do that so you can all see it. Okay. So yeah, you do want to kind of give a sense of, this is a world inhabited by creatures or people or both, and it just looks really empty. So I think put the hero in there. Maybe if you can put some kind of threat in there, like if he's looking out into the distance, that mountain has some kind of cracks and fissures on it. Maybe it needs to look a little bit more ominous. Maybe it's kind of like really lighting up the sky. It looks really threatening. At the moment, this looks really peaceful. It does not look like there's any threat here. It's just really serene. But on top of that, I don't really know what's going on. It's just it's like a desktop wallpaper. So yeah, you need to tell a little bit of the story with your key art input. And I always say it's got to be like a movie poster. It's got to give me a sense of time and place, where the hero is, what the threats are, and it's like I need to be excited. So I think without that, it's quite difficult to get excited. But yeah, so that's the key art. The other thing I was going to say is you don't need to put your name and founder and your Gmail on the title slides. It's going to appear later on in the deck. I'm more interested in knowing what this concept is. So, if you got Westins World, it'd be great if you could make a custom kind of like title logo for it. And if you also had the words it's a pitch deck, but I want a one-liner underneath which explains what the concept is. It's just like you would imagine for any like action RPG game. It's like you play it, give the name the hero the names like Westin. Westin is going to save his world. There's some kind of impending threat, and sum that up in a one-liner just to kind of frame it. Without that, it's just it's really hard to get attached to it. The other thing I was also going to say is like you've got this green mask that's obscuring a lot of the art. It's almost like halfway up the screen. I think you can lower that. And if you had like Westin's World like as a logo up here, like, and then maybe there's a one-liner. I don't know how you'd want to frame this and probably rework it. Maybe it's on the bottom. Put the hero in there. It just looks much more interesting. Make it a focal point. The other stuff that's kind of more about just like layout and format, like you don't have a company logo, but if you did, it'd be great to put that like in the top corner. It just makes it look a little bit more like this is coming from studio. The main character's name is mine. It's going to be a weird one for me. Yeah, so you got to really think about that. The other thing is also like copyright disclaimer. So you want something on the bottom to say that this is private confidential, publisher viewing only. Just make sure that if this was distributed, you are making people aware that it's an important document. So yeah, definitely get that in. Right, I'm going to move on to the slide. Just give me a second. I'm just going to take a sip of water, so I might have to like mute because you don't want to hear me kind of like sipping away.
Thanks for that feedback.
The sound of silence.
I'm so sorry. You should never have dead air on radio, and I'm guilty of that right now. Yeah, sorry. So Slide 2. This is essentially the overview slide. You haven't really given it that title. I think it needs that. Don't need to say Westins World again. We know it's Westins World. You've got it in the logo of... well, actually, look. There it is. There's the logo for the game. Wouldn't that look more interesting if it was on the title page instead of like just generic? I don't know what font that is. Babus New or whatever it is. Yeah, just get that in on the key slide. And then also, look, there's Westin. So I want to see him as a hero. I want him to stand there. It's an RPG, action RPG. He has a weapon in his hand. He's tired, or he's almost half defeated. He knows that the mountain is in the distance. It's the final step. That's what he's going to go to. I don't know. Is it supposed to be possessive Westins? Yeah, that's a good shout because you haven't got the apostrophe on the top. So yeah, put that in and it's possessive, like what you had in the previous slide. But yeah, you need to figure that out. You need to figure that out. The name of your game. But yeah, going on to like actual content. So I think with an overview slide, you typically have a bit of backstory. You have a bit of a description of what's going on, who you are, what you're doing, and why you're going into this world. So I usually call it like, it's the typical things like who, what, where, when, why, how. So who are you? You're Western. You're I don't know. You're kind of like maybe like a Link type character. What's the purpose? What's the background? Make them identifiable and relatable. Then the what and why. It's like, okay, this game is an action RPG. Action adventure. So you say the genre. Then you need to say what you're doing and why you're doing it. You're saving the world, right? It's a good hero's journey kind of experience. Call out the town, the village, whatever, the settlement. Talk about the larger threat. So you have the good versus evil. And then where and when, it's like where it's set. It's a fantasy world. I say fantasy. I know you've said it's a sci-fi world. But I'll be honest, throughout the entire pitch, I did not see this as a sci-fi world. Probably because it's like really lush green environments, but also the garb, the outfits they're wearing kind of gives me like fantasy vibes. Sci-fantasy, yeah, maybe it's like more fantasy than sci-fi. It's a kind of like an Avatar Pandora type world. It looks like a fantasy world, but then you have some of those sci-fi elements coming in with like the Marines and the weapons. But take away the Marines, it's a fantasy world, right? You don't think about planets, you just think of this kind of lush world with flora and fauna. So I think, yeah, that's something you need to kind of allude to as well. And then you need to talk a little bit about, what you're doing, like, who you are, what, why, and how you're doing it. Like, sorry, not how you're doing it. You're using your abilities. You have been chosen, or you've stepped forward to be the hero, and this is how you can achieve it. And that you'll see it. Like, and I'll show you some examples at the end of the review where I've got other games that are in this genre where they've got these descriptions that are really punchy to the point. It's only a few lines. It's a paragraph. It sums up the experience because, if the publisher gets to this slide, they see the trailer, they read that description, they have more than enough information to have a general understanding of what the game is. So, if I get to slide 2 and then I get pulled away, I've got to go have dinner. It's like, I'm just thinking, I'm like, oh, I saw that game, I know what it's about. Now I'm just going to kind of move through the rest of the slides when I get back to just kind of figure out what the ask is, what core mechanics are. So, yeah, you need to put that in. And the reason why I say it's really important for this genre of game is because with RPGs, you're role-playing, and CRPGs, character role-playing. It's all about the character. It's all about the story. It's all about the world. Think about like D&D. Think about like Zelda. Think about like all these other kind of games in the space. Like there's like Kena. There's like the Assassin's Creed games, like in the AAA space. There's like Horizon Zero Dawn. It's all about the main character and their struggle. Their journey. If I don't feel attached to this character, I don't feel attached to their plight, then it's not an interesting experience for me. So I think you need to put that in there. It can be really high level, but it doesn't need to be super detailed. Just enough to entice me and paint a general picture of what's going on and why I should play this game. It's also like, it's a turn-based RPG, but it's also open world. So I think you need to kind of pull that out because I was quite surprised. I thought it was just going to be like free-form combat, but it's a little bit more like, it's like Final Fantasy turn-based JRPG meets kind of open world exploration, like kind of parkour movement, like a typical kind of third-person action game. So yeah, you need to call that out as well. And And the other thing I was going to say, I mean, I don't know if people can hear it through the thing. Well, you can't hear it actually. There's no sound. So that's the other thing I was going to say. The game has no sound, no music in the trailer. It's very quiet. So it's there is no excitement. Like imagine if there was a score here, like even a basic score. If you can get some kind of music off the shelf, that you can buy and just kind of put it in here, that would just kind of lift it and take it to another level. Also, I was going to say, like, yes, you can see this kind of Mount Doom like place, and you've got these kind of scorpions. That's why I was kind of drawn more to fantasy. It kind of does look a little bit like Link with his outfit. Bit of Kana, British spirits, and then hopefully I'll see a little bit more. But yeah, there's more like terrain, and then these characters, they look like fantasy characters as well. And a lot of green. There's kind of like inspired by elves. But then the word Westins world. I think this is just me kind of a bit my art coming through, but that's a sci-fi-ish logo with some kind of fantasy frame, kind of like Warhammer, like harsh framing. But I don't make the connection of that matching with what he looks like. So I don't know. You need to just spend a little bit more time thinking about how this all ties together. What's that weighting of sci-fi versus fantasy? Cool. All right. So once you've kind of worked that out, you need to start thinking about what comes next. Now, you've kind of gone into gameplay features and then prototype. I thought the word said gameplay features, I thought prototype was clickable, but it's not. What you're describing here is what's in the prototype rather than what's in the full experience or the vision. So you need to be really careful about what you're trying to communicate. I did not know that this was just about where you are right now in development. Like you need funding for a vertical slice. But what you need to do is actually talk about the big vision. Like you have a dream game in mind. It's like, hey, look, this is what I'm making. This is what I want to make. But in order to make the full experience, I need some support to deliver vertical slice. So I think that's how you need to frame it. You're not going to structure this pitch deck to just say, hey, look, here it's a pitch deck for a vertical slice. You're pitching a vision, and then you're talking about what you need to do in terms of taking the steps to make the complete experience. And that comes in later about the vertical slice and say, look, this is where we are now. This is why the game looks like this. We've just shown you a vertical slice. Okay, great. That makes sense. So, yeah, I need to know what the full scope is because obviously you want to make a full game, right? So, yeah, don't stop breaking it down here in terms of what's in there right now because then I don't know what's in the final experience. And this sounds really limiting, I'll be honest. Like, so you've got turn-based combat like Final Fantasy VIII. It's very specific. This is Final Fantasy VIII. What is it about Final Fantasy VIII? But, typical JRPG turn-based. You've got explore mode. It's a bit weird to call it interactive explore mode because it says, to me, it implies a different state that is different from the core game. Whereas what you want to say is you just have a world to explore, right? And the turn-based combat lives within that world. Like, it triggers within that world. So, yeah, just be careful about how you phrase things. So you've got evading enemy battles. So I guess you've got like your typical kind of meta world view, like let's say like Ni no Kuni and other JRPGs where you kind of run around, go from point A to B, and then you might have an encounter, triggers an encounter, you have a battle. Side quests is really vague. Hidden items, I don't know what they are. Then you put in sci-fi narrative. And just be careful about how you describe it. You've got to make it sound really exciting, right? You've just said like, this is a linear storyline of Westin defending his homeland from various space civilizations, right? So it's really dry. And to also say it's a linear storyline immediately sounds really restrictive because then that to me says, oh, there's not much exploration in this game. I'm just going to follow the mainline quest and I can just go in this like a beeline straight to the end. Whereas what you want to say is like that this game has a story, and you can follow the main path. You can also veer off the main path and side quest, explore just like any other RPG game out there. So make it sound more exciting and don't make it sound really restrictive. And a single player plays Western third person, change party members. So that's the first time I'm seeing the word party members. But I've not seen anybody else in the party yet. So now I'm thinking it's Westin and his party's pull. So you need to kind of talk a little bit more about, but why is this game different, right? So I guess what I'm getting at is that you picked out specific things that sound more like feature sets. So it's just like they're just got a brief description, but they don't sound particularly exciting. So what I'm trying to get at is basically what you have after this, and I'll jump ahead, and just for everybody else's benefit. It goes straight into timeline. It's game specs. It reads like game specs, which is why it's really dry. But you've gone straight from here's some really high level features to right, we're making it. What's missing is the meat of the deck, and this is really, really important. So for me, at this point, I would say, okay, you need a USP slide. That's what I would want to see here. So unique selling points. What makes this game unique and different? Why do I want to play it? Right? Those are the things you need to call out. Then the slide that follows that would be, say, the features. Right? What are you interacting with in the game in order to play it? And what can I expect in terms of feature set? Right? Which are some of the things that you described here. Then after that, you'd have a slide which is probably going to be the gameplay loop, how you kind of loop through the experience. I won't go into the specifics of how you put that together. There are lots of great examples out there on the internet that you can find. Then you need another slide after that. Because it's an RPG, you're going to talk about the progression system. Like, what am I doing with a character? That I'm not just kind of going out and doing quests. I gain XP. The XP then allows me to do what? Is it unlocking? Am I upgrading my character? I can buy certain equipment, unlock certain equipment, certain tiers, certain levels. What is that kind of reward system and currency in the game? Do I have skill points? How do I spend my skill points? If I have abilities, how do I upgrade those abilities? Do I unlock new abilities? What I'm getting at is these are the kinds of things that fans of the RPG genre are looking for. If you really strip it away, it becomes a very light RPG. You need to kind of call it out and say this is that type of experience. Or say it's an action adventure game, and kind of a lot of things are locked in. It's more about the story and just moving through the story. By creating this vast open world, it gives me a sense of like, wow, there's so much for me to do. But at the same time, nothing here implies that there is so much for me to do. There's no indication of like what the quest system is like, what the side quests are, how rich is this world. The images are quite empty, like in terms of like not showing a lot of population. I'm just seeing the three, like the party members and a couple of enemies. So I don't feel like there's a lot happening here. So yeah, that's something you need to kind of look at. And then what follows on from that is going to be another slide, which is your book.
Oh, lost audio. What the
A magic system. I don't know. Whatever it is. Is it audio or me? Never mind. I'm back. Oh, sorry. So yeah, what I'm saying is that there's about 5 or 6 slides that need to explain what this concept is that are just not here, and I think it's hurting the pitch deck as a result because I just don't have enough information to kind of go off, and that's why it's like, okay, this is not standing out for me. And I just feel like I'm just about scratching the surface here. I'm like, okay, this developer's about this game, right? Talk a little bit more about this world, the combat system, and this exploration, and everything else. But then I hit next, and then it's like, pitch is done. Right, here's where we are. And that's why it's a little bit scary for me, because I'm like, I need all that information in order to evaluate this concept. And without knowing any of that, it just feels like there's not much there. And that's where this is like for everybody else as well as itself. It's like publishers are always looking for what makes a game unique and different. They see hundreds of thousands of games, right, annually. Some publishers, there's so many on a daily basis that it's just like they just fire through slides so quickly, like second by second. Like, we're doing like a 1 hour kind of breakdown of this deck, but I would blitz through this deck in like no time at all. I'll be honest, like it arrives in my inbox, I open it, I'll skim through in the first 10-15 seconds of like top to bottom, so you see if the core slides are in there, start reading from the start, and in less than 2 or 3 minutes, I'm like, okay, I've gone through it, and I'll make a decision probably within the first 30 seconds of if this is interesting or not. If it isn't, then unfortunately it goes into the rejection pile. So you really have to stand out. You have to, as somebody who has played RPGs, I want to know, what's different about this game. Is the combat system different? Is exploration different? Is traversal different? Like, just think about some of the benchmarks, and you guys are in the indie space, but even if you look at games like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, for example, there are, mechanics there, like what separates that game is like you can climb anything. If you see something in the distance, you can get there. How do I get there? Like, well, you've got a horse, you've got a fast travel system. You have these kind of shrines, and then you have these different spires that you climb up the tower, and that becomes like a fast travel system to kind of move around quickly. Then you can also fly, and you've got a glider. So there's like all these little features and things that are quite unique to the game that I haven't seen before. Like traversal isn't unique, but then it's like traversal combined with weather system, which then affects your ability to stay clasped and mounted to the terrain. Okay, that's interesting. So I could, so ice, I slip. Oh, great. I need to, move through cold temperatures and kind of have a longer stamina bar. Okay, so there's a stamina bar. So there's all these things that compile compound, that you need to think about. And unfortunately, RPGs are like one of the biggest challenges out there in terms of genre because there's so much that goes into them. They are built from so many independent systems that have to complement each other. You're not just making a third-person game with exploration, you're creating a world which has systems within systems. There are characters, there are things that are happening in the background. At any point, the player can deviate and do whatever they want, and can you sustain them, keep them interested? What if they grind somewhere here so, to the point where it's like, oh my god, that sounds like an exploit when they go back onto the main quest. Are they then able to cheat through the game? No, it's like, you've got to put things in that balance it out. So I guess what I'm getting at, without kind of sound like I am waffling a little bit, but you need to break the game down, call out what you think those USPs are, call out what you think those features are, what the player loop is, the progression system is, this character, what makes the character special and different and unique and fun to control, what those core mechanics are, like the battling system, and the core elements of what make a good RPG, turn-based RPG game. So, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is create that, then you'll have something that goes in the deck which may, hopefully improve your chances in an exciting scaling publisher. But until you put that in, I don't feel like there's much here for me to evaluate. So, yeah, so super, super important. But anyway, I'll move on through the rest of the deck and assume that you have that in there, but now we're going to look at what comes after that. So after that, once you've done all that, you then kind of gone into your timeline. And you've talked about like, okay, this is how we're going to, deliver this vertical slice. But usually what would happen before this is I would see a little bit more information about the market proposition. Like, why are you making this game? So the kind of like, it's not really in here. You kind of have a slide talking about sales and what you want to achieve, but I don't think that's important. I think what's more important is to show me where this game is going to position itself in the market as a product. Like, and I'm a big fan of having those slides which are like X, Y axes, and you kind of plot where your game sits on a spectrum of kind of like, I guess, like a spectrum of extremities. Like, let's say your game is stylized and it's fantasy sci-fi. The other side is like it's realistic and grounded in reality. It's like, okay, where does your game sit along that sliding scale versus another fantasy action adventure RPG? Are there others similar to this, or have you found a niche? How are you plotting this on the XY axis, right? And what are you using to define the parameters for those XY axes? That gives me a really good sense of like, okay, I can envision where it sits. Because publishers play a lot of games, I hope they do. Or they know that there are a lot of other games in different genres that are comparable. So excuse me, I'm going to sneeze now. Okay, I'm back. So yeah, I would love to see that product positioning, market positioning slide before you get to this timeline. And then what happens is a slide comes after that, which is usually, Jay and I talk about this, and I talk to other publishers about it as well. It's a bit of a weird catch-22. Show us other games in the market, how they perform, but at the same time, that data is going to get replaced when the publisher looks at it and do their own research. But I always see value in developers trying to create those because it gives me a sense of like, okay, confidence that this person's done their homework. They know that there are other games in the market. Like there's a low performing action adventure RPG game, then there's middle performing games, and then there's the outliers, the extremes, for example. Where do you sit? I'd like to always say to people who are pitching, put yourself in the middle. Like be humble, have some humility. Say we aim to break even at least, and we have some profit. We don't want to make a flop, but we want to make a hit. But we definitely need to recoup, and we want to build momentum with this, and we think we're going to be here in the middle, and we want to aim for the top end. It's like great. So plot a few of those games from like poor or like low performers to high performers. Show yourself in the middle. Get data in there for like sales, platforms, ROI. It always helps. That's assuming you can put that in without bloating the deck too much. But I would definitely put the market positioning slide in for sure, and then put that slide in. So yeah, I've talked about 6 or 7 slides that are missing now, which should come in before you even get to this timeline. So yeah, there's a lot more work to do. But yeah, so now that you've kind of, let's talk about the timeline now that you've got this here. I think you want to plot this with a full timeline. Show me when you actually started working on this. Because we're not in June now. We're in March. So what's happening in April? What's happening in the rest of March? What's happening in May? That's not clear to me. Also, you've made some things here. There is a game, right? How long did that take to make? When did you start? When was pre-production? I need to get a real sense of like your velocity and momentum and how you managed to get to where you are, and then what that trajectory looks like to release, not just to vertical slice, to release. So yeah, this is what you need now to continue the journey. Until you have that, you can't move beyond the vertical slice. Great, but the ask that you have will take you to that point, but then what happens beyond that point, right? You need more funding. So would you come back to this same person who's investing, or would you go and pitch to other publishers? I don't know. But ultimately, I need to see when you want this game to come out. And then also, how big is the team going to be in order to move beyond that vertical slice stage and say, right, we're in full production, right? We're a team of, instead of 2 people, we're like a team of 10, right? Whatever it is you need to build the rest of this game. And instead, we're come March 2027, we'll have that vertical slice, we'll get funded. Then this game is going to come out in, I don't know, August 2028 or whatever, or maybe a little bit longer. And then the ask is bigger. You've got more staff, you've got more bills to pay. There are a lot more costs and outgoings. So I need that full timeline here, but I need you to focus on like that breakdown that you've got with what's happening in each of these chunks. And you've kind of highlighted June, August, December, March, but I think you need to kind of like just bullet point a little bit of like what you've achieved and what's left. And some developers do a good job of like integrating the 2 on a timeline in one slide and then put a little checklist underneath. It's not too overly detailed, but little fill meters that can give you a sense of like, oh, okay, that's their momentum. That's how long it took them to achieve that. This is how much more is left. You're making an RPG, so you need to call out those big chunks of work, those systems. What do you need to make an MVP first? Where do you need to focus next to expand, say, the battle system? Is there like a magic system? Is that coming later? I don't know. So yeah, it needs a little bit more detail there. Need a proper timeline. One other thing I was also going to say is that from now to 2020, from June to 2027. So if you include March now, it's a year. You are going to spend a year to make a vertical slice. That's quite scary for a publisher, because vertical slices should not take that long. Small teams or big teams. And then to me, I'm doing the math. I'm thinking, well, even if they ramp up and have a bigger team, if it takes them that long to get this vertical slice, this game is not coming out the following year. This is like a 3 or 4 year project. So it's scary. So already a publisher's thinking, I don't think we can do this. We don't know when this game is going to come out. It's too big. And also, the game does not have a lot of deep feature sets yet. They haven't been fully fleshed out. So that's scary as well. So I think you need to just kind of go away, think about the math. It might be that I'm probably making assumptions and you have the data and the numbers to kind of explain it. If you do, then you need to clearly communicate that here. But because it's not there, I'm making assumptions. And it's kind of me as a publisher, for example, I'm thinking, well, we can't really invest. This is too high level. These guys are too far away from even kind of reaching that vertical slice right now. They need more people, they need more money. and they need to think about the type of game they're making. It sounds too big, but also too shallow. And if they want to be deep, I would rather have an RPG that's a little bit more like, say, like a Persona, where it's very clever how they've done it with some of their games, where it's a school campus, and it's just a few rooms, and then they have the battle spaces, and you can explore the little town type area. There's a lot of dialogue, a lot of richness, and then you have the battle system. But it's not massive worlds. So I would much rather have a deep RPG that isn't going too wide, rather than one that's going super wide, but isn't going deep enough in all those kind of systems that are needed to make it more smart RPG. So yeah, this needs more thought. And I think get the final dates in, so I just get a full sense of like when is this game actually going to come out if you will fully fund it. Because that is what publishers don't sign. Like most publishers sign games knowing that there is a finish line in the distance and there is a date attached to that finish line. It might not be a specific date. It might be a quarter, it might be a month, at minimum. But they won't just sign a blank check for a game and say, well, it comes out whenever. It's incredibly rare. Like you would need to be a very established indie who a publisher could say, well, this guy's a genius. He's had 6 award-winning games. He's kind of like stolen taken the attention from all the other indies out there, and he's just like everyone's just waiting for his next game. We can kind of give him a bit more than he needs. If it's going to take another year, fine. We can take the hit. We know when it comes out, it'll be amazing. Like let's say it's Stardew Valley. The developer of that game is working on a top-tier game. We know it's going to come out eventually. He's still working on it, So those are very rare. But most developers are held accountable to whatever it is they put in their deck, whatever they're saying they can achieve, and also to what a publisher agrees with them when they sign the contract. So, yeah, you need to think about that finish line. Where is it? Where are you now? And can you achieve it? And what do you need to achieve it? So work backwards from that. Okay, next. So I've talked a lot about this. This can be made much simpler. It's really waffly. So your ask is like how much you need to complete vertical slice. So you're saying vertical slice will allow you to finish these systems. Great. Awesome. That's it. You don't need to talk about the partnership benefits. The publisher knows what they can offer. So I would take that out. I would much rather see this little bit of this ask just here on the left of like, this is what we need to finish it. In an ideal world, this is how much more we need to finish to release the game. I need to see an overview of that budget breakdown, like a high level, like how much is needed for each kind of phase of development, like how much is alpha, beta, something that way, or the total amount for the next year and a half, 2 years, vertical slice. And then I need to see something which gives me an indication of how big the team will be. Once if you get the amount for the vertical slice, how many people are going to be on the project? Is it just 2 of you? Are there more people coming on board? How much more do you need? So I need again, like with the previous slide, I need to see a full sense of like scope, how big the team will be when you properly hit production. The way I usually describe it to indies is like, developers in general, is just put your ask here. You need marketing support. You need, when you do get the full funding after the vertical slice, it's like, well, we need the publishers to fund us a vertical slice. We need this much more, 200,000, 300,000, or how much more. Would we get that? We can make the game. We need porting support, we need QA support, localization support, we need marketing support, etc. And then on the right, I'm a big fan of just seeing those pie charts. It's like a pie chart, a slice of like, this is how much design means, this discipline is going to get this much of the budget allocated to them. It's like, hey, for 2 years, I need 2 more designers. This is how much it's going to cost. I need a combat system designer. I need 2 environment artists. I need a character and creature designer. I need a sound designer, or I'm going to contract that out. And it's like, who are the contractors? It's like, well, sound's going to be contracted. So some of the art's going to be contracted. But then the core team might be full-time members like the designers and the programmers. So you need to show that. And you can capture all that on one slide. But unfortunately, because there isn't anything here for me to kind of hold on to and describe, it's very difficult. So yeah, I would lose this. I would keep this information here on the left, simplify it, break that budget down into how it's going to be spent, as well as the full ask, like a pie chart on the right, which kind of shows that distribution for the full project. And also, the other thing that I've also kind of recommended to indies is developers is just put a little URL on the bottom, which links out to a spreadsheet, which is your full breakdown of your spend. It's like when you do your budgeting at home, right? This is the full budget breakdown, like month by month. This is what's going into salaries. This is what's going into my other expenses. Like, we've got an office, we've got to pay rent, we've got to pay electricity. These are my outgoings. I've got licenses and software. I've got to pay those. I've got to buy hardware. There are things that are, on lease. There are things that are, I need to buy outright. All those things need to be captured. So publisher knows exactly how you spend money, right? That's so important because at the end of the day, it is their money, right? They need to know where it's going. Yeah. Then what follows on? I already described you should have had like the marketing stuff beforehand, so that's kind of covered. Everything here, I don't think you need this slide. You're kind of talking to the publisher, like telling them what they know. And they may also contradict what you put in here because this information may be out of date. They are more up to date with what's happening in the industry. So it's kind of like you're kind of telling them what they. Yeah, it's like, hey, you don't know this, but I know this. I think even the targets, you don't need that. What would make more sense is just to say this is how much we need to recoup, and you'd probably put that like on a separate slide, like on the budget slide, for example. And then all this other information, like the GTM strategy, don't need any of this. The other thing also is like free learning content made available on socials, community-driven support from developers, students, and RPG fans. I don't think you need that. Organic growth starts before launch. This is marketing, like even marketing 101 is going to be handled by the publisher. It's their responsibility. So personally, I would just do this slide. So you keep it super clean, simple. Next one, socials. So there's some information here. Like I was like, cool, you've got some socials, but now that I look into the numbers, I'm looking at them with a bit more scrutiny in that the numbers are not as big as I think they are because. Well, you say you've got 3,000 views. My question would be how many videos and across how many videos? Do you only have 2 or do you have 20? And are you only getting like 100 views for each one or whatever? You've only got 25 subscribers. To me, that sounds like a really small channel at the moment. TikTok, you've got views, but you've not said how many channels. How many posts. Instagram, again, very small number. And then this bit got me confused because there's channels. I thought 30 channels, or do you mean 30 people are signed onto your channels? Either way, I think it's good that you've got socials. I'd probably knock it back. I probably wouldn't shout about these numbers so much. They're quite low. It might make more sense to start including them in your deck when you've built a bit more traction with just kind of getting stuff out there. Maybe you're sharing dev builds and talking about what you're working on, your journey. That's when I would start putting more kind of substantially large figures in here because at the moment these are too small and I'm looking at this and thinking this is very appealing. So yeah, it might be worth just saying, look, we're building ourselves. We've only just gone live, and the goal is to kind of keep growing and we're going to add this type of content over time. That for me is more meaningful. So yeah, I would kind of dial this back, and also if you're going to put like stuff here, you've got to put the links in. Put a link in for your Discord so I can actually go there and verify that and see what people are saying about the game. If you've got the YouTube, or what people are thinking about the game, what are you putting out there? Is it good content? Is that where we might identify some stuff that you're doing where you might need help, or you're doing something really well and we're like, okay, well, let's empower you so you can do a better job of it, and then you can get more wish lists and more people wanting to play the game. And that's the other thing as well, is like, because you haven't shown wish lists here, I think it kind of suggests to me that there aren't many people kind of jumping onto it. But I could be wrong, maybe you had them later. But either way, I would knock this back. And if the numbers aren't high, I would use it for now. So you've got a lot of channels. So that's the freelancers. Okay, we start a new project in Unreal. It feels like you have like a kind of a behind the scenes thing going on. I would lose this because it's really confusing. I don't know what it's telling me. Like I don't know what its purpose is. We start a new project on Unreal, so it's almost like, hey, this is a course, or we're kind of showing you how we're building the game, and this is episode 1, this is episode 2, this is what we're going to cover. Now we're building characters. you need to present it in a way that it comes across like that. At the moment, this is just a screenshot. It's just very vague, quite confusing. So I would take it out, and then I would think about how you want to include it, like to thoughts. At the moment, it's kind of confusing. Slide 9, team. Okay, so I think there's more information here that needs to be here. So, like Manuel, you need to talk a little bit about what you've done before. You're the founder, right? So, what's your bio? Like, where have you come from? Like, have you always been in the games industry? If not, where have you come from before? What have you worked on? It's always interesting to see how people have kind of made that transition from a different industry to games, if they've done that. If not, it's like, what other games have you worked on before if you are a developer? Maybe you worked at other companies, so this is your first time being in indie, right? So it's like, show me, what do you do? Are you a designer on other projects? Or are you a producer? You've clearly been doing other things, right? This is not like the first job in the world. Show me that path you've taken to get here. And obviously, try and keep it games related if you have. If not, it's fine. Maybe put software. Show me. Maybe there are other things that you picked up in other industries that can be relevant to what you're developing here. And then same for your artist freelancer. It's funny because his name is Manuel, or your name, sorry, Manuel. And then the other person is Unreal Habitat. I don't know, because it's like, oh wait, this person has a name, right? So make sure you structure it properly. Otherwise, it doesn't come across like that. You also want to credit people, right? So yeah, give people their kind of their due. And also this team slide, in addition to kind of talking about what you've done before, you need to, if you work on projects, put some of the icons in and the projects link out to them, put them on under your profile. I'm a fan of like having like the page kind of structured, like the top third is kind of like, we're the studio, this is where we're based, this is what we're helping to achieve, we're going to be this kind of studio making defense games. Then under that, you would have profiles, lead, founder, definitely fine. And then you've got maybe some blank heads on the right, like smaller circles. It's like, we need an environment artist, we need a mission designer, etc. Unknown, question mark. Or we have a face and a name, but we can't hire them until we get funding. So then that shows me, there will be a bigger team. But right now, it's just these people, they are ready to ramp up. And then on the bottom, you just have like a collective arrangement of like projects and things that people worked on. So add a bit of credit to like what you're doing. It's like, okay, there's someone here from like worked on another indie game for. Oh, they post regularly to itch. Oh, someone here's worked on a AA or AAA studio project. That is what you want to. This, a publisher isn't just investing in the game; they're investing in the people making the game. Because you guys are going to make it, right? The game isn't going to deliver itself. So we need to know there's talent there, and what has that talent done before. And if they haven't done a lot before, that's fine. But show me what their strengths are. Right, talk about their strengths, highlight their specialisms and what they're going to try and achieve. Because we know a lot of teams out there are, a lot of indies are quite, some of them are quite young and it's their first time doing this straight out of university, that's fine. Other studios have a mix of kind of young and senior people, and then there are some indie studios that have been around for a long time. So, you kind of know what to expect from them. So just talk about where you're coming from and who's in the team and how you all work together and, how this is like the ultimate kick-ass team to make this game. We are the best people to deliver this game for this reason. So yeah, there's information missing here. But what's funny is though, when I kind of move through and I'll kind of do this, is like, what follows this is kind of like the thank you slide, but then you have an appendix. When I went through the appendix, there's all these people here, or organizations and bodies. It's like, there's Adam, 3D modeler. Is he going to come on board? He's going to join the team. Pixel Dynamics are helping out with UI artwork. Okay, so you're outsourcing. You've got another 3D modeler, Nico. You've got Sarah, who might do concept art, and then you've got an advisor. So these people need to live on that team slide, right? You need to say, this is who's working on it now, and this is how we're going to ramp up. So to me, it shows that there's people are putting skin in the game. They're willing to take risks. They're actually going to join the project. But by separating it out and putting it in the index, it doesn't really do you a lot of favors. So yeah, I would rework this. Sure, and kind of feature who's actually going to deliver this. And then right near the end, this is the bit where it's really weird, is that I'm seeing Westin properly now, the character. Like, he's actually framed there in the center, looking towards the camera. I mean, he's on the left, he's duplicated, but you can see what I mean. Like, he needs to be on that key art at the start. Like, if it is a party with these other heroes, it's like, talk a little bit about, like, when you talk about that, the gameplay mechanics and what characters do. To see him at the end is quite disappointing. It's like, he didn't really feature much in the deck itself, even though he had it. So, yeah. I would kind of like think about visuals, think about the type of story you're trying to tell. And you also need to kind of talk about the additional characters and what their purpose serves, because it seems like the party is really important, but I don't know who those people are. He's got glowing arm, that's kind of cool, and a glowing leg. They've all got glowing limbs. So there's like some kind of magic sci-fi element. Seems like it's like the main way to combat in the game, or maybe those limbs allow them to, like, I don't know, make the vegetation come to life. Maybe they can summon things from the ground, maybe make plants grow to attack. I don't know. I have no idea, right? But I think that's the kind of stuff you need to kind of like really describe when you talk about the USP of your game. It's just not really across at the moment. And then I think the other thing is this is my pet peeve. When people put a QR code into a deck and my phone isn't here, and I'm like, it says wishlist on Steam, but I can't click on Steam. I need my camera, and it's so unintuitive. I had to like get my phone out to go to the Steam page, and then when I found the Steam page, then I entered that back into my browser so I can go to the website on my desktop. So basically, what I'm getting at is keep the QR code. And just put the URLs and hyperlinks in there. Maybe make this an active link straight to Steam. Just makes it so much easier. And then I think everything else here, like information-wise, for self-founders, like how you can be reached, is all good. Don't need to thank you in questions. I think if people want have questions, they'll reach out to you. But I think it's more important to really talk about, like, hey, we have a demo or a playable on Steam. Click here, go now. Call to action. Rather than wishlist on Steam. And I appreciate you might not have a demo that's live right now. That's totally understandable. But maybe just to, just kind of highlight that, hey, we have a page. Go there, there's more information. Or alternative information. So that's kind of like near the end. One other thing I was also going to say, maybe it's a question for you, is it kind of caught me really off guard. There was something in your deck which talked about, long-term, here it is on the ask. Long-term alignment association with an accessibility-first, education-driven game IP. That's really important, because that completely changes the narrative of what you're pitching. I did not know that this was an education game IP. I just thought it was just a normal kind of like game for gamers. But now that you've got the accessibility and education slant, it really changes this. Because you probably won't find a lot of publishers in the traditional space who will gravitate towards these types of games. So you need to be careful about your messaging. If this is core to your vision, you need to be upfront and center about it. Like, just say, this is the type of game we're making. That there's a developer I know who's trying to pitch a game right now, which is like a language-based kind of RPG adventure game, and you have to learn language. And for that developer, it's interesting that they know that approaching traditional publishers is going to be a challenge, and they're not really interested in those types of games. But you think about Duolingo, are there any publishers or any investors out there who might be? So that person's mission to pitch and get investment is different, right? So you need to be really, direct and transparent about that really early on in the pitch. You can't leave it here until the ask, because up until this point, I did not know that this is the type of game you're making, and it's completely changed things. Now it's like, if I was a traditional publisher, it'd be like a complete turn off, because we're not signing those types of games. Whereas if you send it to someone who's just like, oh, another traditional game, but we're focused on education, and it's halfway through the pitch or near the end, it's like, oh, this is education driven. Why didn't they talk about that at the start? So you need to be careful about your messaging, and don't shy away and hide things, or put them in the line. That was literally at the bottom. I read through this and I was like, that caught my eye. I was like, what? Education? What? Just be really careful about it. Cool. That's pretty much the end of this, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. Sometimes I do like to kind of just help out people with what they're trying to do. I wonder if everyone should be able to see this, right? If I click on the tab, can you see the Steam page? Yes. Someone was typing yes. Yes. Okay. So I went on your Steam page, and this is a much clearer description of what your game is. It's a turn-based combat action RPG driven by a linear sci-fi fantasy storyline. Help Westin defend his home world against distant allies and close enemies after a supernova destroys neighboring planets throughout the galaxy. That it's so much better than everything else I've read in the deck. Like that, like if this was on the overview, obviously with a little bit more love and a little bit more kind of like attention, you could expand this and talk about like the distant allies and close enemies, but destroying neighboring planets, it's like what? So that makes more sense. That sounds more exciting. And then as I scroll through, it's like a powerful supernova destroys planets, scatters civilizations across the galaxy. Special forces onto unfamiliar worlds. Okay, so he's part of special forces. Species force. Sorry, not special forces. I misread that. My mistake. With species forced onto unfamiliar worlds, tensions rise, new conflicts emerge. Okay, so there's like there is like kind of like galactic immigration, emigration. There's a lot of conflict, a lot of tension. He's going to defend his home world against friends and foes. And then you talk a little bit about the turn-based system. Patterns and tactical decision. I will say that a lot of this sounds quite generic. I was looking for something here that made it very different, but I couldn't. And this is where I'll kind of talk about these other games briefly before we end. But you can see like you've got to describe the elements of an RPG game, but you haven't said what makes it. And this is where I'll kind of like talk about like. So I picked a few out, right? So top of my head, some games I really like. Okay, so this is like if you've seen a game called Crypticus. Custodian, I've reached that as well before, it's really cool. So it's a Metroidvania about cleaning up the afterlife. Amazing. That is so powerful. A charming Metroidvania about cleaning up the afterlife. Boom. Your Pluto, your mischievous cat, got humor in there. Cool cat. He's died. Oh my god. Sentenced to the afterworld's janitor because there's more humor in there. Forever. What? And then you hang out with other doomed ghosts, you battle beasts, and explore a vastly expanded landscape. Just that description, if I just had that on a one-pager, my mind would be blown. I'm like, I need to find out what this game is about, right? And I'm not disappointed, the game is great. But if you look at how the person describes their game, right, this is what one-liner would be like on that first slide where you've got the kiosks, like, Crypt Custodian, charming Metroidvania Zelda-like about cleaning up the afterlife. That's all you need. That has me put. Right. Who would have thought like cleaning up afterlife could be, a great theme and premise for a Metroidvania / Zelda-like. Talks a little bit more about the character, talks about what you need to do. So this is all the stuff I was talking about before. It's like who, what, where, when, why, how. It all gets covered there. Then you talk about its features. So it's like, okay, you've got ghosts that you can befriend, learn how they die, and you can go out and help them, chat, etc. You upgrade your gear. Lots of upgrades. It's talking about other things. There's puzzles. There's boss battles. There's cleaning, dungeon crawling. There's collectability, upgrades, abilities, mix and match stuff, and then you can expand your world. And then he also talks about like secrets and finding your own path, and just revealing the story. And it's beautifully like presented just on Steam page. It's like great. That sums up exactly what you're describing. So that's an example of like how you can achieve so much with very little, right? And that if this was a pitch deck, this would have been like 3 slides, right? And that would be more than enough to sell the vision. Then you could go into depth about like, and here's how the cleaning mechanic works, and here's a little bit more about Pluto. Here's more information about the world, and I'm going to include a little bit more about the story. Another one I'm going to show you, another game, Tunic. You've probably seen this. Fantastic. Really simple. You're this fox exploring a land filled with lost legends, ancient powers, and ferocious monsters. And he doesn't really go too much into like the story of the world, but he keeps it quite high level enough that you're like, okay, he'll let the visuals talk, right? But he expands on it here, where it's like you're a small fox on a big adventure. He's stranded. He's only armed with his curiosity, and there's big beasts, and he's just got to find his way out. Like he's just got to go, and then you become a legend. Right, so that is it. That is essentially it's super simple. But what he does is he goes into the deep stuff like, there's finding stories, solving puzzles, ancient items, and he's looking at the rebuild of sacred book. during your travels, you reconstruct the game's instruction manual, and this is brilliant. That's one thing that I really love. So that's the USP. Like it's a unique thing, or it's a unique feature, and possibly USP in that you reveal maps, tips, special techniques as you move through the game. Very cool, very different. That is something that would be like plastered right at the front, and you'd be like, okay, I'm drawn in. This is really cool. Never seen anyone do that before. And then it talks more about like, okay, here's the rest of the features of the game, right? The world is quite intricate, lots of different catacombs and labyrinthine environments, and then it's like bosses. You've got to find missing menu pages, hidden treasures, that's really simple, really effective. I'll do a couple more really quickly, and then Ni no Kuni. I thought this was quite interesting because Ni no Kuni 2, especially.
Hey, Omar, sorry to interrupt, but I have a hard stop right now because I have a meeting I have to be to. So I will be in here and go ahead and continue. Everyone, I posted in the announcements if you want to have your pitch deck reviewed. So go ahead and click that link in the announcements, and I will talk to you soon.
Cool. All right. Well,
Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you, dude. I guess I can end in a couple of minutes, so I'll just keep it quite brief. It's only 2 more minutes, but yeah, this one I thought was really interesting because, like, Ni no Kuni, there's a mix of combat systems. Like, you have open world exploration, and you can kind of combat while you're moving around. The first game was more restrictive, but I love the fact that that it's super simple. It's like, okay, these guys have pedigree, it's about their production values, they've got a captivating story, there's role playing mastery, and there's dynamic combat, which is what separates it from the first game. And they talk a little bit more about those mechanics, and they talk about the charm. So yeah, and I guess if you kind of go down the rabbit hole of all these other kind of different types of Metroidvanias, ARPGs, JRPGs, etc., and how they kind of make these really powerful and kind of eye-catching descriptions that kind of pull you into the game. And this game's lovely. I need to play it. I'm not playing it. I love the first one. And this is a big departure from the first one, which is like pixelated art style. But you can see why this would be appealing when you start reading into the description. And then I think the big epic one, this is beyond indie, is Canaan. And Canaan is kind of doing similar things to your game. I think it's story driven. It's quite linear, but you can kind of have collectability. You have different enemies, different threats. It's a very interesting world. But they talk about their key features here. Talk about what's unique and different, and it's like that kind of Souls-like combat, but kind of initially approachable, and then it gets harder, and then it's deceptive. It looks like it's a very easy game when it isn't. So basically that's what I'm kind of getting at. Go and look at other games. There's no harm taking inspiration from games. If you have friends in the industry, have them look at your work, have them give you feedback. But yeah, that's it. That's essentially it. I'm going to stop there. I've got a demo as well. But I hope you found that useful.
Yeah, thank you, Omar. That was so invaluable to me. I'm so appreciative. I'd love to, I don't know if you have those, I've seen like buy me a coffee things. That really meant the world to me, no pun intended. That was amazing. I have a lot of homework to do, but I appreciate this deep dive format because it really lets me more so than just meeting someone to skim through it. This was like very invaluable. So thank you to everybody in the chat here too. And I have a lot of homework to do, but hopefully I can send an update in a few months, and after some iterations and further development gets able to be shown in the deck too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, thank you for the kind comments. We always say to when we have a lot to say, we want to help. We don't want to come across as us being really negative. I think it's more like constructive criticism. It's like for a lot of people, it's their first time putting a pitch deck together, and there's a lot of learning that's going to happen. When you do that, until you show it to someone, you won't know. So we're hoping that the feedback that was given today is kind of giving you more to think about. And we just want to see it get better. So. Yeah, thank you for tuning in, everyone. And yeah, I look forward to the next one. The next one will be with Kimberly. We're trying to alternate them. So yeah, I'll see you guys soon. And thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thank you again. Thank you. We'll keep in touch. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.